You can't keep this thing on your stomach here.
Dad, please, I have nowhere to go.
You must leave my house. You can't spoil my reputation in this community.
Listen, come closer. Let me tell you a story about a young girl who was loved by all. How that same girl was sent out of the house by her father when she became pregnant. Amara fell to her knees the moment her father's words left his mouth. The room went silent, as if even the air had frozen. Her hands trembled as she clutched her swollen belly. Her heart pounded like a drum in her chest, and tears blurred her vision. "Papa, please," she whispered, her voice breaking like dry leaves in the wind. But Chief Emeka stood still, pale and quiet, his eyes full of something she had never seen before, a mixture of pain and disbelief. "What you have done, it has broken everything," he said, his voice low but firm. He was not shouting, not angry, he was deeply wounded. "I raised you with love, Amara. I taught you right from wrong. How did it come to this?" Amara's body shook as she crawled closer to him. "Papa, I made a mistake," she cried. "I am sorry. I swear I am sorry. I never wanted this to happen." Her words echoed in the silent house, heavy and helpless, but they seemed to bounce off the walls without landing. Her mother rushed forward, holding Chief Emeka's arm, tears streaming down her cheeks. "Please," she begged, her voice trembling, "she is still our child. She is still your daughter. This baby, it is innocent. Don't do this." But Chief Emeka did not move. He pulled his arm away gently, almost sadly, and shook his head. "I cannot let this shame stay under my roof," he whispered. "I must protect this family, even if it breaks my heart." The neighbors outside heard the words and gasped. Whispers spread like wildfire. "What?" "The kind Amara, thrown out." Amara pressed her hands to her face, her sobs uncontrolled. "Papa, don't do this. I am still your daughter. Please." She looked around desperately, hoping someone, her mother, a neighbor, anyone, would stop him. But the room remained still, heavy with silence and shock. Chief Emeka stepped aside, his voice soft but final. "If you stay, my heart will never heal. You must leave, today." The words cut through her like a knife. She stumbled to the door, holding her stomach, feeling her world collapse around her. That day, a gentle girl loved by all was thrown into the cold unknown, not by hate, but by a father whose pride and sense of shame outweighed the love in his heart. Amara turned back one last time, tears streaming freely. "I will survive. Papa," she whispered to the father who had just rejected her. "I will survive, for the child, for myself, even if you cannot see me." The door closed behind her, and with it, a chapter of life ended, leaving a father, a mother, and a village in stunned silence. The girl they all loved had vanished, carrying only the weight of a secret that would one day return to shake them all. Before that painful day, Amara was the pride of the village. She walked with a gentle grace that made everyone smile, without even trying. Children ran after her, tugging at her skirts, laughing as she bent down to lift them into her arms. Elders nodded and smiled, whispering blessings under their breath. Everyone knew her name. Everyone loved her. People often said, "That girl's heart is too pure for this world." At the market, Amara's presence was like a quiet blessing. She helped women carry heavy baskets, counted coins carefully when selling goods, and always had a kind word for strangers. "Thank you, Amara," women would say, wiping sweat from their foreheads. She would only smile and shake her head, saying, "I am happy to help." Even men who had never spoken to her before found themselves drawn to her calm and honest nature. It was impossible not to respect her. Chief Emeka often spoke of his daughter with quiet pride, though he never boasted. "Amara is a treasure," he told a visitor once, eyes glinting with affection. "Not because she is clever or beautiful, but because her heart is kind." Her mother would watch her from the doorway, humming softly as she cooked or cleaned, smiling when Amara helped a neighbor or offered a hand to a child. Their home was full of laughter, full of peace, and full of love. That peace shattered the day Amara was sent away. The villagers whispered in sadness, shaking their heads. How could this happen to her, they murmured. She did not deserve this. No one blamed her. No one spoke ill of her. They only mourned her absence, like a bird had been taken from the sky. The market seemed quieter. Children ran less. The elders' eyes looked dimmer. And in the house, Chief Emeka and her mother felt an emptiness that words could not fill. The girl they all loved, the one who had been the heartbeat of the village, was gone, leaving only silence behind. Not long after Amara was sent away, her body began to betray her. At first, it was small things: fatigue, dizziness, a constant ache that made walking feel like climbing a mountain. People around her said, it is normal for a pregnant woman to feel weak. But Amara knew something was different. Her chest felt heavy, her stomach burned with pain that would not go away. Still, she tried to smile at strangers and hide the tremble in her hands. As the days passed, the sickness worsened. She could barely eat. Sometimes, she would collapse onto the dirt floor of her tiny shelter, clutching her stomach, whispering softly, "Please, little one, hold on. Don't leave me now." The nights were worse. The wind whistled through the cracks in the roof, and she cried quietly so no one would hear. Hunger gnawed at her, her body ached, and loneliness pressed down on her heart like a heavy stone. But she refused to let anyone see her weakness. She was alone, yet determined to survive. Strangers noticed her condition. She is weak because of heartbreak, they said. Her soul is tired. No one knew the truth. No one saw the nights she sat awake, shivering, praying to a God she barely remembered for strength. She whispered to herself, to the child growing inside her, to the father who had sent her away. "I will not fail you," she said. "I will live even if they hate me. Even if Papa hates me. I will survive for us." One evening, Amara collapsed entirely. Her breath came fast and shallow, and darkness crept at the edges of her vision. She pressed her hands to the cold floor and whispered, "Papa. Mama," but there was no answer, only the empty night. The moonlight streamed through the small cracks in the roof, illuminating her pale face. She was alone, sick, and scared, but even in that moment, a quiet determination burned within her. She would live. She would fight. She would survive even if it meant facing the world without anyone by her side. After Amara was gone, Chief Emeka did not shed a tear. He did not search for her, nor did he send anyone to check on her. Instead, he hardened his heart like iron. Whenever her name was mentioned by neighbors or relatives, his face stiffened. "Do not bring shame into this house," he would say, his voice low and controlled. Pride had become a shield, and he clung to it with all his strength. Love, he decided, would only weaken him. His thoughts often circled back to the day he had thrown her out. He remembered her pleading eyes, her trembling hands, her desperate cries. But instead of feeling sorrow, he felt anger at Amara for what she had done, anger at the world for forcing him to make such a painful choice, and anger at anyone who reminded him of her. In it is. Inside his house, Amara's mother cried quietly at night. She begged him to reconsider, to see reason, to forgive their daughter. "She is still our child, Emeka," she whispered, clutching his hand. But Chief Emeka pulled away gently, almost sadly, and shook his head. "I cannot forgive her," he said. "Not now. Not ever. She brought this shame upon us, and it cannot be undone." His words were calm, but their weight crushed his wife's spirit. Slowly, the warmth in their home died, leaving a hollow coldness that seeped into every room. Meanwhile, Amara struggled to survive in the outside world. She walked through unknown towns, sleeping wherever she could, sometimes under a tree, sometimes in an empty shelter. Hunger clawed at her stomach. Pain racked her body. Yet every day, she reminded herself, I will not let him see me broken. I will survive, for my child and for myself. And so she fought quietly, without complaint, without anyone to help her, carrying not just the weight of her unborn child but also the weight of a father's hatred and a home that had turned its back on her. The world was cruel, but Amara was learning the first rule of survival: strength comes from the heart that refuses to surrender. Amara walked through towns far from her village, each step heavy with pain and fear. The sun scorched her skin, and her stomach ached, but she held her head high. She carried nothing but a small bag and the tiny life growing inside her. Every day was a battle, finding food, water, and a place to rest, but she whispered to herself, I will survive. I must survive, for you, little one, and for me. Each word was a promise she repeated like a prayer. The first months were the hardest. Hunger gnawed at her stomach. Her sickness made her body weak. Sometimes she collapsed in the dirt, clutching her swollen belly and whispering, Please, my child, hold on. Strangers sometimes offered help, but she refused. I must do this myself, she said softly. She remembered the father who had turned his back on her, and anger fueled her determination. He had chosen pride over love. She would choose strength over despair. When Chike was born, Amara held him close, tears streaming down her cheeks. I will not let anyone harm you, she whispered, rocking him gently. I will protect you with my life. She worked hard, cleaning houses, carrying water, selling vegetables, and doing anything that kept food on the table. Every coin was earned through pain, every drop of sweat a testament to her survival. Her body ached, but her heart was filled with love, a fierce love that no one, not even her father, could take away. Years passed, and Amara grew stronger. Her eyes no longer held fear, but wisdom. Her beauty remained, but it was tempered with resilience. Chike thrived under her care, laughing, playing, and growing healthy and curious. People in the towns she walked in noticed her honesty, her patience, and her kindness. Slowly, she built a quiet life for herself and her child. Yet deep inside, a hollow ache remained, the pain of her father's rejection. It was a wound that no success, no comfort, and no passing day could ever fully heal. Still, Amara had learned the most important lesson: even when the world turns against you, courage and love can carry you forward. Back in the village, life went on as if nothing had changed. But everything had changed. Chief Emeka's home was quieter than it had ever been, his laughter gone, replaced by a cold, rigid silence. People respected him for his calm authority, but behind that respect was fear that the proud, once kind man could erupt with sharp words or judgment. His heart, once open and gentle, had closed tightly, locked behind walls of pride and anger. Whenever Amara's name came up, his face hardened. Do not speak of her, he warned, his voice steady but sharp. She chose her path, and we must not dishonor our family by remembering her. Friends and neighbors nodded politely, though some shook their heads with sadness. Inside, Chief Emeka replayed the day he had sent her away over and over, not with regret, but with self-righteousness. In his mind, he had done the right thing. He had protected his reputation, and that was all that mattered. Even in his own home, he grew distant. Amara's mother continued to speak of her daughter quietly, hoping to soften his heart, but he refused. I will not be mocked because of her choices, he would say. I will not let anyone see me weak. Nights were the hardest for him. Alone in his room, he would stare at the empty space where Amara had once slept, the shadows stretching long across the walls. Anger had replaced love, and pride had hardened into hatred. It was a cold, bitter companion, keeping him safe from shame but cutting him off from everything he had once cherished. Meanwhile, whispers from travelers and distant towns sometimes reached him, stories of a young mother surviving alone, raising a child, and working tirelessly. Chief Emeka dismissed them all. "It is none of my concern," he muttered. Pride had blinded him. Hatred had hardened him. He refused to think of the girl he had once loved. Yet, unknowingly, the seeds of change were being planted. For far away, Amara's strength grew, and the daughter he had cast aside was preparing to return, not broken, not defeated, but stronger and wiser than he could imagine. And when that day came, the pride he cherished above all would be the first thing to shatter. 7 long years had passed since Amara was forced out of her home. The village had changed, yet somehow, it felt smaller, emptier, without her laughter echoing through the streets. On a quiet morning, a woman appeared on the dusty path leading to the village. She walked slowly, deliberately, her head held high. Her hair shimmered in the sunlight, her clothes modest but neat, and in her arms, she cradled a small child with curious, bright eyes. The villagers stopped everything. Children froze mid-run. Shopkeepers paused mid-sale. Whispers spread like wildfire. "Is that Amara?" one woman asked, voice trembling. "It can't be," said another. Everyone remembered the girl who had once helped everyone, smiled at everyone, and carried herself with gentle grace. Now, she returned, strong, calm, and unshakable. And beside her, a child laughed softly, unaware of the storm his presence would unleash. Chief Emeka, tending to his fields, looked up and froze. His eyes widened, and his hands, once steady, trembled slightly. He saw her, the same gentle eyes he had adored as a child, now sharper, wiser, unbroken. And the boy who looked so much like her, carried in her arms. Shock, disbelief, and a strange, unfamiliar fear raced through him. What is this?" he whispered under his breath, gripping his walking stick tighter. Pride, which had been his shield for years, felt suddenly fragile, like paper in the wind. Amara stepped closer, her voice calm but firm. "Father, I have returned," she said, letting her gaze meet his. "Not to beg. Not to fight. But to show you the life you refused to see." Check peeked from her arms, smiling innocently, reaching out a tiny hand. The villagers gasped again, murmuring. Chief Emeka's lips moved, but no words came out. Finally, he stammered, voice shaking, "That child is yours." Amara nodded, her expression serene. "Yes. This is your grandson, father. And I am here to face the truth." The silence that followed was thick, almost suffocating, as a father confronted the daughter he had rejected, and the child he had never known, ready to shatter every wall he had built around his heart. Chief Emeka's hands shook as he stared at Shaik, the little boy who carried Amara's gentle eyes and the softness of her heart. Pride had been his armor for 7 long years, but now it felt like fragile glass, ready to shatter with one look. The villagers watched silently, holding their breath, sensing the weight of the moment. The daughter he had cast away, the girl he had once loved, had returned not broken, not begging, but stronger than he could imagine. Amara stepped closer, her voice calm, yet carrying the force of every struggle she had endured. "Father, do you know what it took for me to survive?" she asked, looking him directly in the eyes. "I was sick, weak, alone. People turned me away. I gave birth in the cold, without anyone to help me. I worked my hands raw, every day, to feed this child. Every tear I cried was for life, not revenge, not wealth, not fame. I endured, Father, because I had to." Her words were a quiet thunder, shaking the very ground beneath him. Chief Emeka's face crumpled. The years of anger, the cold pride, the hatred he had nursed, it all collided with reality. This child, this innocent boy, was a living testament to the daughter he had abandoned. He wanted to speak, to apologize, but the words would not come. Memories of Amara's laughter, her gentle touch, the way she ran to him as a little girl, all of it pressed on him, relentless and unyielding. Finally, his voice broke, trembling like a fragile reed. Amara. I was wrong. I thought I was protecting my name, but I see now. I lost everything that truly mattered. Amara knelt beside him, her hand resting softly on his arm. Jack reached out, touching his grandfather's hand. Tears ran freely down Chief Emeka's cheeks as he finally embraced both his daughter and grandson. Silence filled the village square, broken only by the quiet sobs of a father who had learned, too late, that love and forgiveness are stronger than pride and shame. Amara smiled through her own tears, knowing that while the past could never be erased, hearts could still be mended. The girl who had been thrown out returned, not for revenge, but for healing, showing a father, a village, and the world that courage, love, and forgiveness are the greatest powers of all. If this story moved you, don't forget to subscribe, like, and share. More powerful stories are coming.